Joining me now, my buddy, longtime listeners of the show are well familiar with Clay Martin, Marine Recon, Scout Sniper, then a Green Beret for 10,000 years. Now he writes books all the time. Clay, what even is your latest book? I lose track.
It's Barbarian Spirit. This is a great new one that's out.
Barbarian Spirit, and there's nobody more qualified to talk about barbarians than Clay Martin himself. Now, Clay, urban warfare, fighting somebody in a house. I was just a very dumb, average grunt Marine for 4 years. You were a Green Beret. What makes it so difficult?
Oh, man. That's $1 million question, isn't it? It's so difficult because it is arguably the most lethal environment that you can be in. You have a combination of really long lines of sight, people that are really hard to spot at those kind of ranges, as well as you can very quickly turn this into a 3-foot gunfight where pretty much nobody can miss. And most of that choice is made by the defender. As far as environments go to fight it, it's absolutely awful. The only one that's even probably close, especially if you're America with the technology advantage and airplanes and night vision goggles, that kind of fun stuff, is the jungle. But you very much make the argument that urban warfare itself even has more hazards than the jungle does. It's pretty much the worst thing that you can do.
Clay, why does the defender, what actually gives him such an advantage? Because I've seen this, I live this in training, and it is wild how a few guys can hold off hordes in a friggin' building.
Well, it was especially bad in the environments that we just fought in Iraq and Afghanistan, because all the buildings basically have ballistic walls. This is basically third world construction everywhere except America. Here, where everything's made out of sheetrock and 2x4s, bullets go right through that stuff. Most of the stuff in the rest of the world, and this does mean the entire rest of the world, is either concrete or mud that will stop bullets. So because of that, if you're a defender, you only need a very small aperture to be able to shoot back. And for the guy in the street, the guy trying to make the assault be on offense, you've got to cover all this distance, which may not have any cover at all, to get there. This is actually even different, I would say, for dudes like me that were in a counterterrorism unit where we're going to have to get one guy, and surprise is going to be on our side. I mean, the real heroes of like the urban fighting in this war is like the grunts from Fallujah, Ramadi, all those kind of places, where they're not just doing one hit at 3 o'clock in the morning and getting everybody with surprise. They're fighting all day long. Right? Guys 10 blocks away can see them rolling down the street, having to clear every building one at a time, and fight their way to them. So yeah, it's absolutely horrific stuff.
Okay, so look, the dumb civilian in me says, well, why not just throw a grenade in there then? Why not? Don't you guys have things that go boom? Why not just roll a grenade in there? I see them do it in the movies. Why don't you just do that, Clay?
Because they'll do it right back.
Uh-huh.
One. Number two, if you're America, you got to worry about who else is in that room. We don't get to play with Soviet doctrine, especially these dudes in this conflict were notorious for hiding behind women and kids or keeping them in the same house. You can't just go chucking a grenade in every room. Even in the times when you can, where it's real bad stuff, Fallujah, the street fights. One, you can only carry so many grenades. Two, that's not even guaranteed to work. Grenades are not magical. Sometimes there's a pattern to that shrapnel. Sometimes it's not lethal, as well as sometimes it just misses. So there's no foolproof way to do this.
Speaking with Clay Martin, Green Beret. Okay, so I don't want to get into specifics and tactics and things like that because I know that's not something we can even do. But who are the best in the world at it, Clay? And without getting into specifics, why?
Funny enough, I can't even say their name.
That's
how this game is played. This is where we do actually run into some really weird stuff with counterterrorism things specifically. Certain tactics and stuff are still classified, and there's certain names of that we don't even from the community say the name of. But in America, we've got 2 units, one in the Navy and one in the Army. They're absolutely fantastic at this, and it pains me to admit that those are actually a step above where I was, but it's true. But they're the guys at this stuff. And then your next tier of counterterrorism units, when I was in an Army SIF, there's us, and then kind of especially in this war, everybody's picked up at least some pieces of it just by necessity.
Clay, I was listening at a long road trip yesterday to go try to kill hogs, which I was unsuccessful at. I don't want to get into it, but I was listening to a podcast with an old MacV saw guy who'd moved on, and he was doing blue light. It was Mullins. He was doing blue light afterwards, which was, before Delta Force, all that stuff. Anyway, doesn't matter who it was. He was talking about how they were trying to develop a plan to take back a ship, and he was explaining how bordering on impossible it was to board a cruise ship at all with any element of surprise. But that was then. Is it better now?
It's a lot better now. And this is actually one of the few divisions we've made as far as who does what. Army doesn't really touch ships, but the Navy, the SEALs, as well as it used to be a force recon mission, so I assume it's a MARSOC mission now, both have a shipboarding mission. And there's a whole set of complications that goes into that. Crazy stuff. You're going to come from the water, you're going to come from a helicopter, or both at the same time. And it's a very different and specialized job to do. Just like some of the other, trains, same similar thing. It's a very specialized thing to do. But yeah, it's difficult. It's extremely difficult.
Clay, Venezuela. Not that I'm hoping anything kicks off down there, but 4,000 Marines and sailors parked off the coast with more on the way. They're doing flybys of our ships. Fighting in Venezuela. I know all fighting is concerning. Is it something that would worry you?
I think, and this is my personal opinion, with South America not being my area of expertise either, so let's throw that there's a caveat. I think for once the Venezuelans might actually be down with it, which would make it an easier fight. If they chose to fight, though, man, those are different people to want to mix it up with. It's not that we couldn't. It's not that we couldn't be victorious.
Why?
It's just that we would pay for it. South Americans are made out of way different stuff than Arabs. Something we always need to keep in the back of our minds. You can look back at the Falklands War when the British went to war against Argentina back in 1980 or 81. The Argentinians actually put up a pretty good fight. They got some missiles on ships. Like, they did some damage, over a tiny little island in the South Atlantic that absolutely nobody wanted. They came with it. Even the guys that came out of that, the pilots, the SAS guys that wrote books afterwards, SBS guys, all of them had pretty much the same thing to say. Like, these guys could actually bang. Like, they were not pushovers. And so if we can avoid fighting in this hemisphere, I would prefer it. But, we'll see what happens.
It's so funny you say that. With the other troops that I got to know or got to work with in Iraq, honestly, I swear the toughest guys were the freaking Guatemalans, and they were all about 5 feet tall. Those guys were harder than a coffin nail, fam.
El Salvs, too. There were a bunch of El Salvs over in Iraq with a 7th group, and those dudes were hard as a coffin nail.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, back to the Falklands, one of the things that somebody said that stuck out in my mind was a pilot. He said we should have known any country that can produce world-class F1 drivers can produce world-class fighter pilots. That's what you need to know.
He is Clay Martin. His latest book is Barbarian Spirit. Of course, it's awesome like the rest of them. Thank you, my brother, as always. I appreciate you. Urban warfare sucks. I just thought it'd be cool to do a little segment with Clay because he's really good about that stuff, talking about it. And I was thinking about, anyway, you're asking about cruise ships, Chris. Why cruise ships? Well, at the time when they were trying to develop this technology, at the time, this was when jihadi terror was really kicking off. This is 70s, 80s. And they were blowing up airliners and taking cruise ships. And so you're always developing tactics in response to what the enemy's doing. And essentially, we didn't know. With the baddest dudes on the planet and the finest military on the planet, us, we couldn't figure out how to get on a cruise ship. First, you have to stop it back then. And even then, he's like, you can't scale the walls. They were sending people up the garbage chutes. I mean, it's a mess. It's a big old fat mess.